A couple of days ago, I put up a picture of Batman on my community post where I asked everybody to give me their hot takes or unpopular opinions about the character. The reason why I'm doing this is because I think some of you have been on this channel long enough to know my thoughts and feelings about Batman, him being my favorite character, one of my favorite characters in fictional history, but also the fact that I'm not afraid to voice bold opinions on this channel. I'm not afraid to have any opinion of any kind in which I tell you them. No matter how unpopular it may be, I'm always going to be honest. And why I've done this is because I want to hear from all of you. I want to see some of the things that you guys hold in high regard for yourselves, what sort of opinions you feel about these characters. There are opinions I have people don't agree with. There are opinions other people have that I don't agree with. But at the end of the day, what the most important thing about all of this is we respect it. We respect it and move on. This is the thing about art. It's subjective. Everybody will feel differently about everything. If there's something that these characters have done in their history that makes you feel very passionate about them, that many other people don't like, that's okay, because that's very specific to you. So we're going to try and make this a new series on the channel, but starting with Batman, let's look at some of the comments you guys left on the community post. ILLYPH9963 says, New 52 first few years was great. Everyone trashed it at the time and was mad about the reboot, but I think it was a bold move by DC at the time. Brought a whole new generation in, and in hindsight, it was some iconic storytelling, and historically, I think it's one of, if not the best eras of the comics. I guess that could be taken as maybe an unpopular opinion depending on what group of people you ask in the comic community. There are a lot of people who don't like New 52. There are a lot of people who did love New 52. Personally, I didn't like New 52. Wasn't completely for me. And that actually isn't so much the Batman side of things. That is the DC Universe New 52, because Batman's New 52 storytelling was actually really good. Some of the most popular stories that we have today comes from New 52. Outside of the Joker, sometimes it feels like today the Court of Owls are talked about the most of Batman's villains. And that came from the New 52 era. So clearly, no matter how we may feel about New 52, some of us who may not like it, we can't deny that there is a lot of inspiration that still comes from that continuity. This next one is from Brighton Stegner 2610. Batman is my favorite DC superhero. My take is that Batman is someone that a lot of people can relate to. Bats represents the hero in every human being on this planet because he has no natural superpowers, no special talents, but yet he still kicks ass. Also, I know that a lot of fans say that Michael Keaton or Adam West are the best portrayal for Batman, but there is one name that probably slipped their mind. Of course, I am talking about the late Kevin Conroy. So as for your first point, I do agree. Batman is a human character, and the idea that anybody can be Batman, and that's how it feels with a lot of human type of heroes or characters in these fantastical comic book worlds. That is immediately the character you can connect with. And even though there are times where Batman is no regular human in the comic books, at the end of the day, you do come back to reality to understand that he is a human, which makes it easier to connect with the character. As for the best Batman ever, I 100% agree. Kevin Conroy will probably go down as one of the best, if not the best, Batman actor of all time. I know sometimes we have to differentiate between voice acting, TV acting, movie acting, but Kevin Conroy is one of the first people I think of when I think of Batman. Next comment is by Kikagna. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. I'm sorry if I butchered it. Gotham City-centric stories where Batman is in the background are frequently frequently called boring by the fandom, but are actually among the best. Some of my favorites are Gotham Central and Gotham Knights. That's a really cool opinion. Those stories have a lot to offer from the perspective of even more regular people than Bruce Wayne himself. You can see what they think about the city, what they think about Batman's work. There's a lot of different and interesting perspectives you can get from that situation. And one of the comic books I think of right now is the very popular Joker comic book. You don't see Batman until the very end, and a lot of the shots you get of him in the panels are just him, from what I remember, gliding around and chasing Joker through the shadows. You don't flat out see him. That really adds in the fear factor of what everyone around him, good or bad, feel about Batman. That is a really good one. I like that. Next comment is Luke G6017. Batman doesn't need to be grounded in realism in movies to work. Many people think everyone likes Batman because he's a normal human. He's consistently above super soldier tiers in the comics. He's lifted a collapsing building. Not saying I'd like to see him be quite that strong in movies, but I think it's time we see Batman moving faster than he does in Arkham Knight in a movie. I want to see him jumping 15 feet in the air. I think there could still be a large appeal for this type of Batman if they explored the ideology and philosophy behind his character. One of the most successful Batman movies, The Dark Knight, did this perfectly. It's funny because those movies are generally seen as the most grounded in realism. I think fantastical elements would do this character a lot of justice, and it would look really cool to see him doing handsprings and flips, dodging bullets. Yes, I agree with this because I've been waiting to see that type of Batman on screen for quite some time. The closest we have gotten to that in live action form has been Ben Affleck's Batman, and whereas I absolutely love that version of Batman, I love how Snyder portrayed him to be, I will say I'm still looking for more of that. I am looking for an Arkham Batman on screen. I'm looking for somebody who can literally dodge bullets like the Matrix. I'm waiting for that Batman who's going to use all 130 of his fighting styles to take on a room of 25 goons. I think why Batman works so well in that realistic, grounded versions of him, the way we have gotten with Nolan's Batman and now Matt Reeves' Batman, and what seems to be a lot of the take a lot of people want to give, is because it's easy to do that with him with a compelling story. Because he is human, it is easy to get people interested in a character like Batman, because now not only can we relate to the character being human, but we can relate to his surroundings, we can even relate to his materials and gadgets, in the idea that anybody can be Batman. Regardless though, yes, I am all in for a fantastical Batman. DC Temple 27. Batman is the best fictional character of all time. He's not only one of those heroes who are the most selling characters of all time, but also the one who has the best everything at every media. Best comics, best merchandise, best games, best shows and movies and everything. In my opinion, nothing in fiction can top the magic of Batman and his entire lore that surrounds the greatness of Gotham City and its villains. And yes, unfortunately, it's a hot take. Second biggest hot take about Batman is that one of his villains, Joker, is, in my opinion, not the best Batman villain. He's second on the list. In my opinion, number one at the top 10 list of my favorite Batman villains is, of course, the one and only Bane. Well, with your first hot take essentially describing that Batman is the best fictional of everything, you won't hear me complaining. I absolutely agree, especially when we talk about it in the terms of the comic community. Everything that comic books have to offer, Marvel, DC, indie comic book studios, Dark Horse, it does not matter. Wherever you look, I think Batman is dominant in everything. That also means I welcome any type of interpretation of Batman ever. Even if I don't end up liking that interpretation, hey, at least I know because I gave it a shot. As for the second opinion, you know, I don't agree. I think the Joker is the best Batman villain, but you know what? Bane, he is certainly not a bad choice, so I respect it. Josiah the Brain says, I love the light-hearted Batman. That's fair. Some people do really like light-hearted Batman. It's not for me. I don't really have much of an interest in that version of the character. Although that Batman Brave and the Bold cartoon is great for people who do like that version of him. The Noir Knight. Batman shouldn't be the actual world's greatest detective. I feel like he should be behind someone else, or a very small number of people. I don't really know if this is a hot take or not. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Haven't really seen too many people discuss something like this. What I will say, comic writers don't fully know sometimes how to write him as the world's greatest detective. Sometimes he is so unbelievably smart that calling him the world's greatest detective is actually an insult to how smart he is. But then sometimes they write him to not be smart enough to own the world's greatest detective line. Mohammed WC2CG says, fantastical Batman is better than realistic Batman. I don't think that would be so much of a bold take within the fan base, but maybe to general audiences, it might. I do agree with this, even though I love a lot of the realistic Batman type of storytelling. Although with Fantastical Batman, I just think there is so much more you can do with that version of the character. With realistic Batman, simply put, it's a little bit harder to introduce him to the Justice League, let alone a DC universe. With Fantastical Batman, it's a lot easier and probably should just happen in general. Z Production says, hot take, probably a fire hazard. Batman is not fit to be a hero. Despite being crazier than the villains he fights, Batman is okay with letting one madman kill the innocents of Gotham. He's willing for his sons and practically daughters to suffer at the hands of Joker, yet he could complete the mission faster of saving Gotham by taking him out. Crime would probably cease to exist, but I realized something. Batman believes if he kills one person, then he'll start killing every criminal, which proves that Batman is only productive when he aids the Justice League. However, in his own city, he is lame. Yeah, probably a very bold opinion. I will say there is a point to him killing the Joker and some of these other psychotic villains he has who do things just as bad as the Joker. The city would probably be a better place. But now the question is, who takes out Batman? That might be some of the arguments people have, because we all know that when Batman goes crazy, there's no stopping him. MP860. Batman comics peaked in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and have been on an overall net decline since the turn of the millennium, getting more ridiculous and cliche to overcompensate for a lack of originality. That's definitely a bold take, although there are a lot of Batman and just simply put DC comic books I love from the 80s and 90s. My favorite comic book era is the modern era, the 80s to 2010. There are a huge amount of people who love today's genre of comic books. I wonder what the actual statistic of people would be on the side of your opinion out of curiosity. Emma Parker, Michael Keaton is the best Batman, and it's not even close. I completely, 100%, wholeheartedly disagree with that statement. I don't really like Michael Keaton's Batman. His Bruce Wayne, but even then, I don't really like it as a whole. He's not the worst Batman, but he's nowhere near the best in my books. Although for you, there is a clear reason why he's the best, and to each their own, more power to you. Ryan says, Batman is a much better character than Spider-Man. That is not a hot take for many people in the DC community, that is probably like, yeah, of course he's better. But in the Marvel community, that is absolutely a hot take. Now, if you look at communities as a whole, if we just combined comic book lovers, you might have a lot of sides that say one or the other. That's a really interesting statement, because at the end of the day, Batman and Spider-Man will more than likely always go down as 1 and 2, with Superman at 3. The people who say Superman is 1 are the hardcore DC fans who know and understand the history of Superman. But all I know is that I'm not going to argue with this one. I am in complete agreement. Purple Spark says, Batman is a good character who works well where he should against the villains of Gotham. Outside of that, he is too overrated, and the writers should go at no lengths to appease Batman fans. I do completely disagree with this one. I think Batman should certainly be written in a way of fan appeasement and also big scale stories with the Justice League, because we have to give a reason why a human like Bruce Wayne is capable of being alongside Superman, Wonder Woman, Lantern. In comic books, it's really easy to get away with a lot of this unbelievable, super unrealistic fantasy, and I personally think it works just fine in the comics. Martin says, Batman being constantly sectioned off from the wider DC universe in games and movies is getting old. Reeves really needs to incorporate more superpowered rogues into his universe. Snyder is my goat, but killing off Dick was a very odd choice and could have easily been Jason. Batman saving the Joker in certain situations is incredibly dumb. As for your first point, yes, I know Batman sells. No matter what you do with Batman, he will probably make money, fantastical or realistic. With games though, even though the Suicide Squad game doesn't look to be the best, I am glad we're seeing Batman, Arkham Batman, with the rest of the Justice League. But I agree, it would be better to start seeing Batman with other people instead of just on his own all the time. As for your second point with Reeves incorporating more superpowered rogues, I gotta agree, I would actually love to see a realistic Batman take on a character who all of a sudden is superpowered. That would be a really interesting, unique twist on the Reevesverse. I think it's time to start seeing what Batman villains are really capable of. As for your third point, I do agree that Snyder easily could have just marked this off as a Jason Todd death and easily could have had a thrown away line that Dick Grayson lives in Bloodhaven. And as for Batman saving the Joker, yeah, it is pretty dumb. The only time I somewhat understand it is when it comes back to his kill rule. If it is a certain situation where Batman has put Joker in danger of dying, then I get why Batman has to save the Joker. Say Joker cracked open a grenade, it slipped out of his hand, and the grenade was rolling around the Joker, and Joker couldn't pick it up. It was about to blow up. For no reason should Batman try to save him. That death is on Joker's head now. That's his own fault. So every time I do one of these unpopular opinion videos, I'm gonna give my bold take on these characters at the end of the video. Many of you may know this already, but my bold opinion for Batman is I don't actually mind if he kills. Now, I'm not saying I need my Batman to be a psychotic murderer killer. I'm not saying I want my Batman to be a killer, because if I was to make my own interpretation of Batman, Batman would not kill. Although my Batman would 110% play with the mental path of killing, knowing he wants to kill, but knowing it's a bad idea. So this does not mean I don't like versions of Batman who kill. Like I said earlier in this video, I appreciate all interpretations of this character. Give me a good enough reason, and I'll accept it. But there you have it. These are some bold takes and unpopular opinions about Batman. Now, the community post is still up if you want to check out some other people's hot takes and unpopular opinions. Now, if you didn't have the chance to comment some of your opinions on the community post, let me know in the comments below. We'll see what some of you have to say on the next unpopular opinion video, but until next time, I will talk to you all very soon.